What up? This is your boy DJ EFN. You might know me as a drink champ, but first and foremost, I'm a proud father. I linked up with two of my other dad homies, Manny Digital and KGB, to start the Fatherhood podcast. Each week, we bring you insider hip-hop stories, parenting, and advice and therapy. The saying is true, it takes a village, and we humorously serve as each other's trusted counsel in figuring out how not to screw up being a good dad.
The Fatherhood Podcast. Beats, rhymes, and diapers.
What up, KGB?
All right, just the two of us.
Just the two of us. All right, I'm sorry about that. That was bad.
No. I knew you were going to do that. That's why I said
I know you did. You set me up.
Come on.
You do the
alley-oop.
Well, shake it, man. How's the boy?
Yeah, he's good, man. He's on the end of 6th grade now. We got a couple more weeks and then summer break.
How fast, bro? How fast that this year went?
I know. But I got my looming. I guess my looming question for you every week now is going to be, what's up with the college drama? How's that progressing?
Bro, we're putting it in God's hands, and it's working. I don't know if I caught you up. We talked about we not being eligible for need-based aid.
Right. Yep.
Because apparently we make too much money, which for the listenership, I mean, it's unreasonable what the federal aid, how they look at things. It's really unreasonable. So don't let that sway kind of things. But so we didn't qualify. Our the best loans that you can get as far as rates go and terms, we didn't really qualify for. They cap you at $5,500. The school was very nice and gave my daughter, she earned it, but they gave her a merit award.
And
that you
covers a piece of it, right?
Yeah. It covered a real big chunk.
Oh, that's good.
It was approximately half.
Wow.
But the remaining half is still really difficult to get to.
Yeah.
So she appealed that, and they gave her more.
Really?
Yeah. Way more than I anticipated. I thought they might, given all circumstances, and by the way, they check your financial, your taxes.
Explain this appeal process and
Yeah. So actually, that's very good information for folks to know. So, we went to the school. I'll start there. We went to the school, visited with the financial aid counselor.
Right.
School.
Yep.
And we didn't want to come across as yo, we broke, blah blah. I didn't want to hit him with some BS story, because that doesn't help anybody. So, I was just what are the options? She's a really good student. This is a little tough for us to come and be able to cover for her. We don't want her drowning in debt when she gets out of school. So what are some of the options? And he gave us a couple things, apply for some scholarships. He gave us a list of some. And then he mentioned you can also appeal. But here's what we look at when we, somebody appeals. And effectively it's you got to submit your taxes, your whatever you filed most recently. Because thing about the FAFSA is they essentially, because we hadn't submitted our 2024 taxes yet. So they look at the last previous year, which is 2023. And the way application season for colleges goes, it's essentially the taxes from 2 years ago that they look at. So things materially change in a couple of years. You can appeal. And with the most recent tax return, if the numbers make sense, they'll that weighs pretty heavily in their decision making. So, he kind of set the expectation. He was look, Mike, owe you $1,000 to $2,000. And I'm yo, with the amount that's left, I appreciate it,
right.
but
yeah,
that's a Starbucks budget for a year, So it came back. And again, our expectations were very low. We were trying to figure out all right, what else can we do? And they came back and it was more substantial. So that put things into a whole different frame of mind for us. And now things became a little bit more reasonable. Like she's still gonna have to take out some loans,
Yeah.
but ideally, like not like it was like 300 grand in loans is what it would amount to. And now, we're like somewhere around half that or something like that at the end of the day, which is still a shit ton of money. But
You mean all in 4 year?
we
What
were,
are you talking
yeah,
about?
yeah,
Okay.
we were looking, and this is like if she does nothing, if we don't do anything else, right?
Right,
Which
right.
obviously we plan to. So yeah, I mean, we're all operating under the assumption that that's where she's going, and we're not trying to really spend too much time thinking about, like in the doldrums of like negativity.
Yeah.
Not on some like hope is a strategy, but really trying to be positive, but also moving toward closing that gap. So we're all in good shape, good spirits. She's still pumped, and like it is almost a perfect fit for her to be there.
And when's the I guess the drop period of like your money's due? Are you coming or not?
Well, so she already put her deposit down, so she secured her spot.
Okay.
So that part is done. Now, as far as everybody's concerned, she's going to be a matriculated student in September.
Mm-hmm.
But the bill for the first semester is due August 1st. So that's when crunch time hits the fan and
Right.
everything needs to line up.
And then part of the expense is also because she's going to be a dorm student, right? So that adds.
Yeah, it's a significant piece that
Yeah.
it adds. And then
Yeah.
like meal plan,
Right.
kicks in also some serious dough. But yeah, like, yeah, in the grand scheme of things, like tuition is still a sizable piece, but
Yeah.
those other things make it rough. And
Mm.
even if she was off campus, like there's still other
Yeah.
things you got to
Right.
consider.
Yep.
But she wasn't about like, even if she went to school close to home, she wasn't gonna do like the commuter thing.
Right. She
At
wants
least
to.
at least she didn't want to. Like
Yeah.
if push came to shove and that's all she could do, that's what she's gonna do. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, man. I mean, we just trucking. Like our vacation was a really cool like reset for us because there was a lot of stress around this whole thing leading up to it, and then got to just really allow ourselves, all of us, to just not even think about it.
It's funny trying to find the balance of making decisions or not making decisions based on money. It's not always easy.
It's really hard, man, and I've done a lot of mindset work over the last few years to shift that mentality and just live in a mental state of abundance. Which, when you look around you, and that doesn't necessarily translate right now, it's stressful, and you every day you're like, come on, man, cut the bullshit, dog. Look at your bank account right now. What are we talking about?
Right.
But that's not the point. The point is like, believe that it's out there. It's there for you. It's just a matter of you lining up with the universe to have it come your way.
Or just think about when you were younger. And I mean, at least for me, I know I made certain decisions based on thinking of lack of abundance or like, nah,
Yeah.
it's too expensive to do that when maybe it really would have been a good look to try to make some of those things happen. But like, how do you get your kids to I guess understand that where it's like you don't want to make. And look, this is even an adult problem of just like you don't want to make crazy choices that are gonna put you in the hole, but at the same time, like you can't be just bound by thinking like in a defeatist way of like can't
Yeah.
afford that.
If you like sit and think, and maybe even yourself, like look at your journey to now, like, and I've done this, and I noticed that this is true. You get what you're supposed to get when you're supposed to get it. Like, especially when it's something that you really want, but you don't currently have the means to necessarily acquire such thing. But there's things you can do in the here and now to like put yourself in a situation that feels mad uncomfortable. Maybe it's take on a bunch of debt. Maybe it's, get into a situation that you're not ready necessarily to manage, but you want to be in that direction. The shit kind of figures itself out. Like I've had to essentially, it wasn't quite foreclosure, but I almost had to go into foreclosure once upon a time with a
Mm.
property I acquired. And while that shit was traumatizing, it worked out.
Yeah.
Like, so like there is something to say about like really trying to figure out where to place those bets. Because if you just willy nilly out there just doing shit that's gonna put you in tough spots, like it's not sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to be somewhat strategic with the bets, but you got to make bets.
You gotta make bets. You don't grow if you're not in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
to your point though, like how do you condition or train your kids to think in those ways? Like now more than ever, there's tons of content or resources to kind of help people think about how this journey of life should translate for them differently. But fear is everywhere, and that's the biggest killer of anything.
Yeah, and they also don't necessarily know like what can I afford, what I can't afford. You don't have the concept, you know.
No, money doesn't mean shit to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, yo, I need this. Boom, it shows up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's interesting. I'm definitely been thinking about your daughter's journey here with
Well, thank
with,
you,
with with that.
thank you.
Because
Because
it
keeping her in your mind is definitely helpful.
because it seems like and it definitely seems like a different it definitely seems like a different scenario these days in terms of amounts of loans available. You know, it definitely was I think some years ago way more of a freestyle and more of the wild wild west in terms of like the amount of loans you could take, the different types of things that were available and all that kind of shit. Seems like that hearing you talk about it seems like they've clamped down on that quite a bit.
It's been streamlined, and I don't know if like the 2008 financial crisis may have impacted this as well, because that it was a free for all as far as what people were getting as far as loans back then. So I don't know, but it's materially different. And I'm also, I mean, when I went to college, I was poor. So when you're poor, there's you could almost go to college for free.
Yeah.
Or I didn't have that, but my loan package was probably, I don't know, I probably had to end up paying like 40, 50 grand for my 4 years of college. And my at ridiculously favorable rates.
Right.
Like so it's a whole different ballgame now. So it almost pays to be poor. Being a single parent and poor right now, if you have a kid going to college, is like the golden goose.
Hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I'm glad it's working out.
Yeah, it'll work out. It's gonna figure itself out one way or another. It's gonna happen. Um, but all right, your son's finishing up sixth grade,
Yep.
so he down there. Do they do middle school starting in sixth?
Now
Where you're at?
he started middle school in fifth.
Fifth. Okay,
Yeah.
so he's knee
They
deep
do
in it.
they do fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth is
Yeah,
middle. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
and so he's in. This is his second year. He's finishing up. Has
Yep.
he found it? Has he? Do you feel like he's found his groove?
I think he has. I
Yeah.
think he had a rough go at it fifth grade,
Right.
and that might have been just a variety of different things all hitting at once. But this year's been pretty smooth, thankfully. And I think also just I think his mentality has shifted a bit as well. From like when we moved, it was definitely a big transition for him, and I think the whole not having his good friends here, that was a hard one for him to deal with. And I
Yeah.
and I think what he was trying to do like replicate that scenario at school of like, oh, I've got I don't have any ride or die people, like trying to recreate that. And I think that's what also caused some of his issues of just feeling down, feeling anxious because he didn't have that feeling. But since then, I think he's gotten to the point where he understands that he doesn't need to replicate that, because he's still, thankfully, with technology and everything, like, and him and his friends talk all the time still, and they see each other, and
Dope.
we go on trips and link up and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like it's not like it's just a different thing, right? So in his mind, oh, he still has his best friend and he still has his other close friends. And so at school, now he doesn't feel like he needs to recreate that. And then any kids that he's cool with, that he is friends with, is just like, all right, cool. It's cool to hang out. But I think once he got that out of his head of like, it's got to be like this, then
Mhm.
it opened him up to just find a flow.
You just said something that triggered a thought. So, and this is something I've always like been fearful of because it's kind of a two-way street. So you got parents getting cool and the kids being cordial, not necessarily super cool. And then you got the kids being super cool and then the parents not necessarily like again being cordial.
Yeah.
Have you found it easy or have you and your wife found it possible to have friend groups that both the adult and the kid are are happy with?
We in our previous home, yes.
You had those friends where both parents and kids clicked.
Yep, yep. And actually those are like it's
Those are your
actually with
travel friends.
yeah, it's actually his best friend and their parents,
Yeah.
his parents. Like we're all friends, right? So it works out. Like we can all go hang out together and meet up, and it's a fun time, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's probably rare. I don't think that's the
Hard.
the norm. Unless you're already friends with people, and then you introduce the kids, and then they get that kind of thing. But so I'm thankful that we have that. In the new situation, no, I don't. We haven't found that, and I'm okay with that too.
No new friends. No
I'm
new
I'm all
friends.
right. Like I'm happy being like cordial and
Yeah.
all that stuff. But even him, it's like it's not like he hangs out with some folks, but it's not like he's on some 24/7 like got to see him, as it can be sometimes at this age when with friends. So
My kids are not super needy when it comes. My youngest, actually, no. They're all good just staying home and being among themselves.
yeah.
Every so often they want to have well, my son doesn't call it a play date
Oh
anymore. He
yeah,
calls
yeah,
it a hangout.
play date is that's done with.
Do you mess with your son and be like, "Yo, you gonna have that play date?"
No, we stopped messing with him on that. Stop messing with him on that.
I love doing it. He's like, "Yo, bruh."
But what's funny about him, and I guess he takes after me in this case, is that like sometimes, my wife will be like, "Oh, do you want so and so to come over?" And he's, nah, maybe we can meet somewhere. She's like, "Well, why? Why don't they come over here?" And he goes, "I don't, because when I'm done, I'm done. I don't, and then I don't want them in my house."
Ah,
that kind of thing. Um, not that
well,
he's antisocial, but
right,
kind of like how I am, but he also sees like the home base is
sacred.
like, yeah, your sanctuary in a sense, right? And so,
My kid,
sometimes it's when you're done hanging out and then you still have someone in the crib and you're like,
yeah, yeah,
right?
that's real.
Yeah,
My son is like that. My son doesn't want nobody coming over here. He'd rather hang out somewhere.
yeah,
Crazy.
yeah.
That's so funny. I get it though, especially like here too, because I'm like, yo, if you want to have friends over, I don't care how much mess they make. It's on you to get it. Either tell them not to, or
Right.
you cover their ass and you pick everything up.
Right.
My kids don't like that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember you telling me that, and I borrowed that from you as well.
Yeah. Yo, so
And
y'all got like gearing up for the summer yet? Like getting deep into planning or
yeah, we got a couple. I mean, we're gonna keep it loose.
yeah.
We got a couple like basketball week-long camps to do, and then there's gonna be time to chill, try to take a couple quick trips here and there.
Is your
Keeping
son
it
still working?
keeping it loose though.
Kind of doing the because he had like a little
No,
side
I
hustle
mean,
joint.
yeah, I mean that was short-lived.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, maybe he'll get back into it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Actually, I was talking to someone, a friend earlier today, and we were just talking about like how late to the game we were with just learning about stocks and investing and all that kind of stuff. And like I'm still just fucking dumb at it, you know,
Yeah.
but just how intuitive these kids are with strategy, like online. And he was saying like, yeah, he's got a 10-year-old, and he was saying, yeah, I got to find some of these. There's some video games that do that like mimic stock
Trading.
stock trading. So he's like, yeah, I got to get my son on. I got to find out which one of the good ones, because then if the kids are playing it as a game, there's no high stakes. You get to learn like how intuitive it could be for them to understand the strategy behind it all, and that might teach them how to
That's dope.
really do it for real.
Yo, let us know when you
Yeah,
find out. I need a
yeah,
list of
yeah,
them joints.
yeah. Shit, I'll do.
Yeah,
I'll
I
do
might have
that.
to I have to pick that up. My boy's pretty good at that. He's like a day trader. He's made pretty decent change off of that. So I told him, yo, my kids want to learn. Like, let's set up a session so you could just start walking them through this shit. Because I can't. I don't.
Yeah, my son has like a kind of a beginner book on it that he hasn't really cracked yet, and I want him to. But I do think there's like if I get this link and my friend finds
Game.
a good gamification of it, I think that could get him going.
That's a game changer.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And
sure.
then go ahead.
I was gonna say I gotta jump.
All right, let's do it.
We gotta keep this one short today because
It's all
it's
good, man.
tight over here.
Let's do it.
But yeah, man, we'll catch up next week.
Yep.
I'm mad you missed the episode last week.
I didn't miss the episode last
No,
week.
you didn't. No, you didn't. It's that E's not
I,
here
ju-
today.
I
You
jumped
jumped
off
a little early.
I jumped off early. Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yep.
That's what. Oh no, so you caught the bulk of it. It was dope.
Yeah.
If y'all listening now didn't catch our episode last week with AD Empire, go check that out. It's really dope. And come back to this one and stay tuned for the next one. All right, y'all.
All right.
Peace.